diversity is the key thing for me. I think it unlocks so much amongst the team. And that's really what drives change and delivers results.
Comes back to innovation as well. Like
Yeah.
you say, if we all look the same, think the same, we're stunting our curiosity, our innovation. Whereas for any organization to stay ahead and to still be there in a year's time, we've got to think differently. The only thing that's guaranteed in business is change.
Yeah.
And if
yeah.
we don't prioritize that with diversity of thought, I completely agree. Hello and welcome to the Plumm Pod, where we talk about all things HR and mental health. I'm your host, Georgia, and founder of Access HR. On today's episode, I'm joined by Lauren McDonagh as we talk about what it really takes to build a high-performing people team. As the head of people at Soho House, Lauren shares how she sets her team up for success, what she looks for, and how she balances strategic impact with everyday realities. Lauren, hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode.
No, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
Me too. We're about to have a really great conversation, and it's also a topic that we haven't had before on this podcast. And I know a lot of people will take a lot of inspiration from what we're about to say, and there are also a lot of questions that I get asked, and I'm going to talk about them with you today because you're the perfect person to answer. But before we do, I do have a question that I ask every single guest, and it's to set the scene so that our listeners can learn more about you if they don't already know your story.
Yeah.
And the question is, was HR part of the plan, or did this happen by chance?
So, yes and no. I did a degree in sociology, and the plan was to actually go and be a primary school teacher. I worked at David Lloyd whilst I was at university, and I did a load of different kids clubs, and thought, maybe not for me. And I had a really good relationship with my lecturer, and actually he sort of planted the seed about HR. And he said to me, have you ever thought about HR? Like, you love people, like this could be something really good for you to like explore. And I'll be honest with you, when I looked at what HR was, I was like, oh, I'm not sure what that is. Like, what is HR? It just sounded like administrative work, and and it's so much more than that. So yeah, I got my first like bank job once I finished university as a HR admin at the hospital, and then I've just worked my way up really. So I specialised in ER, which I absolutely love, and then I moved into more of the partnering world, and then which then led me to the opportunity that I'm in now. So yeah, I'm the head of HR at Soho House, and I absolutely love it. So yes and no is probably the best way to describe how I sort of fell into it. But
I love that. But also, I completely agree in the way of when we first realize or get an understanding of what HR is, I don't actually think it's really representative of what it
no,
actually is. I had no clue at all.
yeah. And I think like when I don't know about you, but when I started to look into what HR was, I couldn't get a definitive answer around what HR was and what the opportunities may look like. Yes, maybe more so if I wanted to specialise, but I knew that I sort of wanted to touch upon the more generalist world. So I was thinking, okay, well, what do I need in order to be able to be a good person for this job? So yeah, I don't think that the brand of HR is always given the best reputation. I mean, obviously we're biased because this is what we do, but I think if you love the opportunity to do something different every day, and you do love people, and no day's the same essentially, then HR is a wonderful career.
I completely agree. And I love also that more and more people are taking up the profession actually. And I'm going to read this out. So Indeed have said that HR postings have actually increased by 38% by 2020. And that's because it's of so much more interest to people. And I think people are seeing how much change we're making, and we're not just compliance and admin. I'm very similar to yourself. When I was Googling, what is HR?
Yeah.
Can I get an HR role? It was like, you're going to write contracts and offer letters. I mean, I don't really know why I said yes at the time, because I don't know why I thought that was inspiring, but that is so far removed from actually how fulfilling my career is. And especially now with you being in a head of role at Soho House, I can only begin to imagine what you're doing. And for today's episode, we're really going to focus on you as an HR leader, but also the team that you've got.
Yeah.
And we've not had a leader come on before and talk about their HR team specifically.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to get into that. And before we do, I just want to ask a question on hospitality. So with you being in hospitality, have you found it different from when, say, you were in the bank?
So I think there's an element of HR as HR wherever you do it. But I think definitely the industry that you work in, and I think this is where HR is amazing, because if you have a passion for something, whether it be retail or fashion, etc., this is where HR is amazing, because it gives you the opportunity to tap into these worlds and learn more about them as well. I suppose I feel really privileged and lucky because I work in an industry that, yes, we are hospitality, but we touch upon so many other things as well. So we have hotels, we have restaurants, we have gyms, we have such an amazing offering. And that has actually really shaped me as who I am as a leader now. So I think, yes, it is very different. It's really fast paced. But again, I love that. So I can't complain about that side of things. But it is different to, I would say, my previous role, in the sense that maybe the modeling of how we approach things is slightly different. So yeah, I think again, like I can't praise HR enough in terms of, because I do think it helps unlock and give people the opportunity to like explore things that they're really passionate about as well. So
That's also really nice to hear, because there's a lot of us that are in completely different industries, and the essence, I think, is the same, and the goals that we're trying to achieve, but how we customize that to our culture and our environment, that's when it's completely different. So with your team in particular,
yeah.
how many team members do you have?
So in my team, so essentially I look after the UK from a HR perspective. And how we're set up is I have 3 different regions. So I have East London, West London, and then I have regional, which is essentially everything that's outside of London. And recruitment also sits in my world at the moment as well, which is great. So total is 12 people within the team, but in terms of direct reports, I've got 5.
Hmm. Amazing. And how have you found being a leader to those 5 in particular has really shaped how you are today?
So so it's really interesting because in HR, we advise how to be a great manager. And we say, you should do this and you should do this. And we advise and coach managers on how they should approach different things. I think it's a very different experience when you are the manager and you're like, right, I have to put this into practice now. And I'm a massive believer that, HR should lead by example and practice what they preach. So I would say that my 5, I feel really lucky because they're amazing, and that makes things easier in
Mhm.
some respects. But I think what I've learned through working with them is I'm on a journey myself, and I think I've always tried to be quite authentic and be honest with them about my journey on this as well. So, we are going to have a few bumps in the road, and that's okay. But I try and contract with them and tailor my management approach to how they like to be managed, because no person's the same.
Mhm.
And I think that has been a big learning curve for me, because you can read all of the books in the world and you can be told all of these things. But when you're sat in front of a person and you're like, this is not working in terms of I'm trying to apply this and it's not, going down in the best way. It's just actually just stripping it back to be like, we are just human beings and you need to be able to tailor that. So
It's so interesting, actually. I really resonated with what you said then, that we are expected as HR to have all the answers for management, and we often coach and facilitate those sort of conversations.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to us, it's really difficult, actually. And I don't think enough people talk about this because we're supposed to be, the advocates for it.
Yeah.
But we're also the very last to get any sort of training and investment into it too. So it's, how do we ensure that we are building our HR team for success as well? Do you do any sort of training for your internal HR team?
Yeah, so we do, I suppose, so my focus within my team, because we're pure generalists, we touch upon the whole employee life cycle. So we tailor the training depending on what sort of focus is. So I think I shared with you, obviously, we do a quarterly, so we're not actually known as HR within the organisation, we're known as P&D, which is People in Development, which I think is really lovely as
Oh,
well.
I've not heard that before. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, so we're not known as HR, we're known as P&D. And because ultimately that's what it's all about, our people and developing our people. So each quarter we have a get together where we focus on our team, like our overarching priorities for the year. And we also have a topic in that as well, where we'll focus on things that maybe aren't so much baked into the day-to-day activity. So a huge one, which is everywhere at the moment, is AI and efficiencies. And our last quarterly was based on that. So we get guest speakers to come in that are specialists in that area. So the team go away and they're like, great, that was really beneficial. I've learned X, Y, and Z. So yeah, that's something that is new for us and that we're working on. But I think it's been really beneficial. So yeah, in terms of like taking the time to develop the team, it's something that for me is so important because it's like it helps as well give you that level of job satisfaction as well. If you feel like you're growing and it's not just the everyday hamster wheel churn, then hopefully I can retain my great team.
Yeah.
But also people go home feeling fulfilled and like they've done something good. So
It is that fulfillment piece. I completely love that you have said that. As an employee as well, regardless of if we are within the people sphere, we want to grow, we want to develop. We're not outside of that remit. And I, unfortunately, during my career, I didn't get the training that I would have loved to have had. I think I waited to get mediation for like over a year because I thought that would be great for my career. But I actually realize now I should have been more invested in other type of skills to learn and develop it. And as a professional, that would have made me a better human,
Yeah.
but then made me a better people professional at the same time. It's really inspiring that you're also being really intentional with your team and their learning and growth. I absolutely love that. So with your people, what do you look for within the people sphere? So let's say your team of 12 people in development, what are you looking for within great team members?
So yeah, that's a great question. So I suppose the key thing for me would be diversity of thought. I don't want a team of the same people because we'll just deliver the same results. And I think one of the things that I am really proud of, and we found out earlier this year because we did insights, is my team are so diverse and we all have different personality types. We all work in a different way. And like for me, that's, such an important thing. When my team have been recruiting, if we've had gaps, etc., I always say, try and recruit someone that's nothing like you. And it will feel uncomfortable because, like attracts like, and like we are naturally more drawn to people that are more like us. But they're not going to help you get to the next level. So it's better to bring someone in that thinks differently to you, maybe have a slightly different skill set to you, because actually you will complement each other so much more in that space. That's something I learned when I was at Heathrow. Because I worked with a team that were more data driven, and that's
Okay.
something that is not a forte of mine. But it was the most amazing thing for me and my career, because my thought process coming out of that, I was a completely different person. I was so much more analytical. And the way in which I partnered was so different as well, because I'm generally sunshine yellow with green. And I was operating with people that were more blue, which are obviously opposites. So it was like, how do I get the best out of this situation and also bring value from a HR perspective as well? So yeah, diversity is the key thing for me. I think it unlocks so much amongst the team, and that's really what drives change and delivers results.
Comes back to innovation as well. Like
Yeah.
you say, if we all look the same, think the same, we're stunting our curiosity, our innovation. Whereas for any organization to stay ahead and to still be there in a year's time, we've got to think differently. The only thing that's guaranteed in business is change.
Yeah.
And if
Oh yeah.
we don't prioritize that with diversity of thought, I completely agree. I'd be curious to know, actually. So when you were in the previous role at Heathrow,
Yeah.
and you were talking about how that helped you to be a better partner,
Yeah.
in what ways did it help you?
Because I was out of my comfort zone. And in the sense that I suppose I really wanted to prove to myself, but also to the leadership team that I was working with, that I added value. You and I know that, and I know I'm biased, but HR is so integral to all businesses, and I believe that the success of a business does stem down to people. And I think working out of my comfort zone was actually the best thing ever. And I do try to do that with my team as well, in terms of earlier in the year, I swapped my people managers regions. And that was intentional, because I felt that it was, one, an opportunity for them to go and establish themselves as the new people managers for those areas. But two, I knew it would feel uncomfortable for them. And that's not me trying to be really mean and think, oh, I want my team to be uncomfortable. But I do believe growth comes out of that. And actually, it's amazing to see that how much they flourished. So I think sometimes it's like thinking about how we can do things a little bit differently to put ourselves. And I don't think it's necessarily just the responsibility of a manager to do that. It's also our own responsibility. If you're wanting to grow and develop and you take personal development seriously, then the more uncomfortable you can get, I can guarantee the more opportunities will come around, and you'll feel more comfortable with navigating change and things like that as well. So yeah.
You've said such valuable pieces there around growth and being comfortable. Completely agree. The moment that you're comfortable, we need to switch it up. We need to start and get uncomfortable. It sounds like you've built a really good culture internally, but also importantly, psychological safety,
Yeah.
where your team feels safe to fail, make mistakes, and knowing that you will be there to support them, but also they've got that personal accountability and recovery. They've got that runway to be like, right, okay, here is how we overcome it together. We've got a really good culture. We've got trust. And I know that I can go to Lauren.
Yeah. I really hope so. I really hope so, because it is something that I feel I've really, really tried to work with them all on. I genuinely care about them as well. And I'm not saying that not every HR professional doesn't care about their teams.
Some are disconnected from it though.
Yeah. But I do genuinely care about them. And, we're human beings, right? And sometimes we can't always give 100%. But I know that from the output of my team, we can ebb and flow, and that's absolutely fine. And I hope that they know that no matter what happens, I have my team's back wholeheartedly. Even if something is our mistake, and sometimes it is, and we're we're human beings, people make mistakes. I will never out my team in front of anyone. I'm just not about that, even if we are wrong. We'll pick up the conversation, and we can learn from that. But I think it's really important, to your point, that they psychologically feel safe, so that if they do make mistakes, that's okay. We just learn and grow from them. But we're not then beating someone with a stick when they're probably already feeling absolutely terrible anyway.
I love that.
So yeah.
Absolutely love that. And that's also really reassuring to hear. And I think a lot of people strive to work in an environment like that, because you're absolutely right. Not every leader is the same. They
No.
don't have the same approach. But I genuinely do believe to be the best people leader, we've got to recognize how important our people are. Very topical at the moment as well is a lot of HR professionals are really feeling burnout and
Yeah.
considering, is this the industry for me? And I've spoken a lot around, we need to be making sure we're in the right environment and think environment first over title when we're progressing through our careers. But I'd be interested to know, with your team of 12 that you've got, how are you prioritizing their well-being and what practical steps have you put in place for them?
So I suppose it's twofold as well. I think I try and lead by example. So I will never ever email my team or contact my team outside of working hours. It will just never happen. Unless obviously an emergency happens, then I won't say never. But generally speaking, like once we finish work and our weekends, that is their time, and that is their time to also debrief and, have the time with their family, their friends, and everything else. So I try and ensure that I am demonstrating the right behaviors. So I wouldn't ever contact them outside of work. And also I communicate with the team, because there's times where I need to say to them, actually guys, I need to be offline for a couple of hours. I need to do X, Y, and Z. And hopefully that then gives them the green light to be like, manage up in terms of like they can tell their managers then, I just need a little bit of time here to do this. So yeah, I suppose it's demonstrating to them behaviourally I'm doing the right things as well, in terms of making sure that I'm honouring my own boundaries. And I suppose one of the things that I always do in my one-to-ones with the team is like check in and say, how are you doing? How's your workload? What does that sort of feel like? Is there anything that I can help you with? Because if there's something that I can help them with, then absolutely I want to do that. 9 times out of 10 they say, no, everything's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I think burnout is a massive thing. And I don't know if it's because naturally the type of person that moves into HR is someone that wants to help other people, will go above and beyond.
People.
Yeah.
You said it earlier,
Yeah.
and I really I could feel that with my chest.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that I've spoken to on this podcast, they've said the same. Like, I was exerting so much energy, and I'm still guilty of it now. I'm not fully retracted from that. I call myself a recovering people pleaser rather than just a people pleaser.
It's really hard.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
But I will always put my hand up first. Like, I will say yes. And it goes to your point, I think, also educating us as professionals to what is urgent and what is important.
Yeah.
Because they're completely different things.
Yeah. It's funny you should say that, because I actually listened to a podcast the other day that talked about being busy and being productive and how they're two different things. And I was like, God, that I'm guilty of that, because I'm the first one to say I am so busy. But actually, Lauren, are you being productive? And like, I think sometimes, and that was like, it really resonated with me, because I think sometimes we need to challenge ourselves a little bit more to say, yeah, we are busy, but are we actually being productive with our time? And what does that sort of look like? So, yeah, it's an interesting thing, but definitely, I mean, I see it all over social media and LinkedIn about HR professionals being burnt out. And I think it does definitely probably stem down to the fact that, we're all just really nice people. They just want to help.
want to do a really good job.
Yeah.
And we want to help. I think the statistic is something like 96% of HR professionals are feeling burnout. It's really high. But also then we do have a personal responsibility to know our own boundaries, but also what that shows up like and looks like for us. It looks completely different on everybody. And I only actually realized that later on in my career, but it's good to hear that you're having those regular conversations and regular touch points with your team so that you can start to identify them just out of interest.
Yeah.
When you're saying one-to-ones,
Yes.
how regularly are they happening? Is it formal reviews? Is it more of a check-in? What's the vibe with that?
So one-to-ones, and this will vary depending on, but personally for myself, again, I think this has actually been a real learning curve for me, one-to-ones, because I think there's an element of employee responsibility with one-to-ones. So I think employees look at managers to be the person to organize them and come with the agenda and stuff. Whereas, Yes, absolutely. I will always have time for my team, and they know that they can contact me at any point. But I have dedicated hour with all of my direct reports bi-weekly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but outside of that, we speak to each other on the phone every day pretty much. And if we need to run through things, we absolutely can. And one of the other things that I've trialed, it has worked, but I think actually it is a great tool. If you've got the time to be able to like pre-plan, etc., is using Calendly as well,
Mm-hmm.
and just saying to your team, like, whack some time in, like, you let me know when you need like to have some time with me. That's absolutely fine. So yeah, I have a dedicated hour every other week, bi-weekly with the team. And I say to them, come with an agenda. It's your time. We can talk about anything you want to talk about. And 9 times out of 10, we'll talk about the work that they're focusing on. If there's any maybe ER cases that they would like to touch upon. And then we also have an element of just personal catch up and how they're doing on a personal level as well. So yeah, I do them on a bi-weekly basis because I want them to feel meaningful. I don't ever want, I'm not about having a meeting for the sake of a meeting. Like, what is the point? I'm too busy. Like I said, but unless everybody's too busy to be doing things.
They are. They are. And it's got to be intentional conversations, not for the sake of having it to tick a box to be like, oh, yeah, I had that performance review yesterday and we're going to have it again next week.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to grow from that. Whereas if it's intentional, it's hyper-focused, like, right, Lauren, this is what I'm struggling with. Here is my particular challenge of this week. Also, personally, I've got this going on at the moment. It then raises your awareness to be like, okay, well, what's on your plate? How can I help you? How can the wider team help you? What do you need from me?
Yeah.
And more often than not, they may go, you know what, I actually got this. I just needed someone to talk to, which is also beneficial. You will most likely have a variety of personalities within your team.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
So yeah, my team, they're all so different, which again is great. I think it's about building the rapport initially because I've got some people in the team that are maybe a bit more introverted and some that are a bit more extroverted as well. And I think just having to adapt the management style to those individuals so that it tailors them is the first thing. But I think you can't tailor anything until you know them a bit better. So it's actually just investing that time and energy to get to know them and how they work and, you know, what sort of things they enjoy. What lights them up and what doesn't. And that's also really helpful when it comes down to like projects and things like that, because then you can draw on people's strengths.
I can imagine as well, you've had a more positive response when you've really got to know people. Like you say, with projects, if there is a particular project, I don't know, a benefit overhaul that really lights them up. They may have a particular passion, I'm really thinking off the top of my head here, for family leave, building in a new program. That is something that could really light one individual up compared to another who is more interested in compensation frameworks.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, like that then like links back into like the fulfillment piece, because if you're doing things you enjoy, then it makes work so much more pleasurable as well. Don't get me wrong. I think it's also about managing expectations because we are here to do a job.
Yes.
And there is the job to be done, but there's no reason why that job can't be great. And that's sort of something that I really want my team to feel in terms of working with them. And I think if I circle back to like what you said about the burnout piece, I think there's so much that organizations do to look after their people, which is amazing. But I think sometimes like, what are we doing to look after our HR teams? And it's funny because when I speak to like my guys, sometimes they're like, I just need to have a 5-minute rant about X, Y, and Z, get this off my chest. And I'm like, go for it. Like, and then we're like, right. And they're like, I'm okay now. And it's like, yeah, I think like that's so important because like we deal with some heavy stuff at times. And, you know, the impact of that is you finish work, you go home, but that doesn't stop there. And the brain continues to think about that scenario or situation that's happened. So it's just, hopefully it's about my team feeling like they can give me a call and we can have a conversation about something and we don't need to have an action at the end of it. We just need to offload and feel that it's safe for them to be able to do that. So
It does sound like you've built a very safe space as well for your team. And I completely agree. HR are the very last people to get any sort of investment. When I was actually in my last corporate role, I was asked by an internal employee if we were the company counsellors,
Oh,
because that's how heavy sometimes the information that we get is.
yeah.
And that's the reality. I think a lot of people potentially need to open their hearts and minds to that perspective, because there's a lot that we deal with and
Yeah.
we need space too
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
professionals.
Yeah. And we're not medically trained,
No.
right? That's the other thing as well. So I always say to the team, like, we're not medical professionals. And at the point in which, like, something comes up, like, it's not for you to have to try and resolve that situation.
Which can be hard.
Yeah. Because again, linking back to the people pleasing and like wanting to do the right thing by people, of course, like that's a natural place to operate at. But yeah, it's just,
Is the expectations.
yeah.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
The expectations. And I think that's also really inspiring, because what I really wanted from this episode is for people who are in HR at the moment, in roles, knowing how they can become better professionals to hopefully one day be in a similar role to yourself.
Yeah.
And I think we've definitely covered all of that, because there's so many things that we can do as individuals, but also having a great leader also helps us to grow as professionals. Lauren, I only have one last question
Yes.
for you. And we've spoken a lot about your journey through HR as you've progressed from being in the bank to then moving through into Soho House and hospitality. But a question I've got is, looking back on your career, what is one piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
Oh, that's an amazing question. It's like a therapy session. I would say if I could go back and give myself a bit of advice would be, don't, the world's your oyster. And if you want something, you can genuinely go after it. I think I was always so ambitious in terms of like, I knew where I wanted to get to. I was willing to put in the hard work. And I think, if someone has like a negative view on something, like don't take that to heart, because people will always have opinions on things. So yeah, my advice to my younger self would be is just go for it. Like you've got nothing to lose. And we get one little shot. And my colleagues at Heathrow will laugh because I always used to say nothing changes if nothing changes. And it's so true. So for go and be uncomfortable, because you will flourish.
What a message to end on as well. I completely agree. We can't change the opinion of others. If someone's being, negative or a particular thing, let them have their moments. Nothing changes if nothing changes. What a conversation. Thank you so much for all your points and tips. And I know this will be definitely a recommended episode to our listeners. So thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Like this episode? Click here for more HR talk. And if you're just catching up, check out our previous episodes right here.